Hello and welcome back. So today we're going to explore a crucial aspect of our coaching journey, which is recognizing signs of toxicity. And really, that's toxicity in various areas of your life. We're going to identify these signs because this really is the first steps towards creating a healthier, more positive environment. We understand that toxicity really is all around us, right? Especially in the situation that we find ourselves in sometimes. It's very hard to actually recognize what's happening until you've sort of reached your wit's end, and then you've discovered that, you know what, I was in a toxic environment, but you were at a time that it was maybe seemingly too late to find out just how toxic it was, and you lose your identity throughout this. I want to ensure that as we go through this process, you are able to recognize when something no longer serves you, when something really is toxic to the soul, to the mind, to the spirit, and not just recognize it, but learn how to get out of it. That's what we're doing right now. We're trying to figure out how we are going to get you out of a situation that you perhaps have been in for so long that you're kind of lost as to, okay, what do you need to do next? A lot of the times the mind, I believe, shuts certain things off. And what I mean by that is shutting things off in terms of really, going with your instincts and saying, you know what, this is not the environment I need to be in. And I think that's a form of protection. I think it's a form of also fear, right? That's embedded in fear, because if you recognize what's going on, that means that it's going to be perhaps a tumultuous, volatile, arduous journey to get out of that situation. And you only know what you know. And if you're conditioned for such a long time to believe that you have to rely on that environment or rely on that individual for even the basic things, and I mean the basic things in terms of like your livelihood, right? How are you going to support yourself? Other questions might come up. How am I going to not just support myself, but how am I going to start again when I'm so used to being in an environment that has made me feel and believe that I cannot do without it, right? Toxicity manifests in different ways, and ultimately it impacts our emotional, our mental, and sometimes even our physical well-being. It is essential to recognize these signs to help you make informed decisions about the environments and the relationships that you find yourself engaging in. So let's dive in to one of the first of many signs of toxicity. Now, first off, you have to understand toxicity. It manifests in so many different ways, and because of that, what happens next is it causes you to become emotionally drained, right? If you are feeling emotionally drained, that's a sign. And if you're feeling like this repeatedly after interacting with certain individuals, right, or being in specific situations, if you are consistently feeling depleted or anxious, it's worth examining the dynamics that are at play. The next sign is consistent negativity. You're consistently seeing patterns, or consistently feeling patterns of negativity. Again, trust your instincts, right? We're human beings, and we're born, I believe, with special gifts. And one of those gifts is having a sixth sense, having the instincts to know when there's a threat to your well-being. And again, it manifests in so many different ways. And one of that is consistent negative patterns. Toxic environments often breed negativity. So whether that's in the form of criticism, gossip, an overall pessimistic atmosphere, that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. And not just into consideration, but that's when you have to start to think, you know what? I really need to assess the situation I'm in, because I am not instinctually, I am not feeling comfortable with this environment anymore. I cannot look the other way because of the fears and the things that I've mentioned before, the fears of, well, what's out there for me? I've got to be in this environment. And it's also, again, mindset, right? You have been conditioned for so long to believe that this is the way it's going to be, or this is the way it has to be. There's no hope for me. That, again, turning a blind eye to patterns that can only serve to I think, destroy one's confidence, one's self-assuredness, and one's self-esteem. And that it also does blur it blurs your vision of a better life, essentially, right? So pay attention to the consistent negativity that you're experiencing. Lack of support, that's a huge one. I have said many times, and I learned that no one is an island to themselves, right? Whether you're going through a bad situation or through a great situation, regardless, who is in your corner at the end of the day? And this is something that has to be implemented into not just recognizing the signs, but as part of your action plan to get out of that situation, that environment. Lack of support. Healthy relationships and environments provide support during both good and challenging times. And if you find yourself lacking support or feeling isolated, it may be a sign of toxicity. It is a sign of toxicity. Manipulative behavior. Toxic environments and individuals may exhibit that. A huge word that's come up for actually quite a bit of time now. I see it everywhere, especially when people are, airing their grievances and so forth, is the word gaslighting, right? Invalidating your feelings, right? What it is to you is what it is. And for somebody to try to change the narrative and make you feel like that it is not what you're seeing it, what it is for, that is the sign of a toxic individual who has manipulative tendencies. Somebody who is guilt tripping or playing mind games with you. All signs right there. Recognizing these tactics is crucial for maintaining your emotional well-being. Boundary violations. When you are seeking to establish yourself and you're trying to build your confidence up and regain your identity and your esteem, all the things that you lost, or you didn't even sometimes know that you lost it until the end of a situation, or you've had that aha moment. The one thing is because there was a lack of boundaries, right? The environment or the individual was consistently and continually violating those boundaries. Now, toxic relationships often involve that. And if you find your boundaries are consistently being disrespected or ignored, that is a red flag. That's a red flag. You have to set boundaries. You have to learn to say no. You have to learn to establish who you are, what you will tolerate, what you will not tolerate, how you expect to be approached in situations. Validating, ensuring that your feelings are validated, right? Your thoughts, where you are coming from in terms of that situation that you feel that you are, oppressed against. A lot of that has to do with lack of boundaries to begin with. Because if there were perimeters around that, then somebody wouldn't be constantly overstepping them and making you feel worse than you already do. So it's about learning when to say no, what works for you, what does not work for you. It's about establishing that. It's about having clear communication and a clear understanding and a clear establishing of who you are as a person. If you're experiencing individuals with drastic mood swings, right? Extreme mood swings or erratic behavior in others can be indicative of toxicity. And oftentimes, emotional instability can create unpredictable and challenging environments where you feel like you are walking on eggshells because you're not sure what you're going to get, right? You have to be in a relationship or an environment that is stable, that is not unpredictable, doesn't make you feel like you're constantly on edge. You have to feel that you have to be in an environment that you feel like there is control, right? You have a sense of control. And we tend to go into environments thinking, okay, well, I'm doing what I got to do. And somebody else has a different idea on any given day, even when you're following instructions down to a T, for example. And it's not good enough because it's really, at the end of the day, you're going based on somebody's mood swings, how they feel in the moment, right? And typically, I think the dominant individual or individuals in a situation, because there's no boundaries being set, they feel like they can be anyhow they want on any given day. So no matter how hard you're trying to plow through, again, whether it be in a work environment or in a relationship, and to keep things calm, it doesn't work because at the end of the day, it's based on somebody else's mood swings. It's based on their insecurity and instability and their inability to control themselves. So watch out for that. Another big one is stagnation and lack of growth. Huge sign of toxicity, because whatever environment you're in or situation you're in, the individuals do not want you to grow. They see that most often than not as a threat, right? They see it as a threat because it is tied into their, again, insecurities and their need to AAA control everything. So again, whether you're in a relationship or in a work environment, another word for that is micromanaging. Right? Somebody who has to continuously be in control, no matter what you're doing. And if there is any glimmer of growth, again, most often than not, there's a fear that, you're probably going to take away, in their minds, some of the spotlight on them. So if you feel like you're being constantly suppressed, that's a huge red flag. If there's stagnation, if you've brought it up several times that you want to grow, you want to work on X, Y, or Z, or you want to, if you're in a relationship and you are considering taking on an opportunity that's going to see you just shine and thrive even more, and that individual's consistently saying no or nitpicking all the reasons why you shouldn't, or tearing apart areas about you, tearing apart things about you in pieces, right? Little by little, slowly but surely. That is toxicity at its finest. So if you feel stagnant or you feel held back, it's essential to assess whether toxic elements are hindering your progress. Trust issues, right? You cannot get anywhere, especially when you're dealing with others, without a semblance of trust. So even in a work environment, a lot of people say, oh, if I'm at work, I don't really trust anybody. I used to think that too, but to a degree, no, you do have to have a level of trust in order to work as a team, to enable someone to work independently, to achieve goals. And if there is no trust, well, how do you expect to have a healthy relationship? Right? Lack of trust is a sign of toxicity. And toxicity can erode trust. It goes hand in hand. And if you find yourself unable to trust others, or you're consistently feeling betrayed, it is crucial to examine the root causes. Physical symptoms. That's a big one, right? You are a being, and we attract energy. We attract negative energy. We attract positive energy. And the body does keep the score. You might have heard that term before. The body keeps the score. And environments that you're in, right? If they are toxic, the body, your spirit, your soul, it attracts that energy. As much as it attracts positive, it attracts negative. What you ingest is what you put out. And certainly toxic environments can manifest themselves in physical symptoms. That can manifest as, and what I mean by that is as headaches, fatigue, gastrointestinal issues, changes in appetite, lack of sleep, breakouts, you name it. Any sort of adverse reaction that is not otherwise brought on by something else, I'm talking like allergies and things like that, and you're wondering, why are all these things happening to me physically? Well, you're here for a reason, right? You've joined this program for a reason. It's the toxicity that you're experiencing in your relationships. So pay attention to how your body responds to certain situations. And not that I am a fear monger or anything like that, but yeah, when you're stressed out, when you are so full of toxins from the toxicity, you know, it can lead to very serious physical symptoms, right? And you only have one life to live. Life is very short. You know, you're trying to prolong your longevity as much as you can and be happy and feel the freedom. You want to feel the freedom that goes along with being truly happy in this short life. So if you are experiencing physical symptoms from the situation that you're in, that's one of the biggest alarms. Your body is telling you something. Pay attention to how your body responds to certain situations. Think if the situation you're in is adding any value to your life. I don't possibly see how these signs that I've outlined, and this is not necessarily an exhaustive list, but they're the main ones. If I don't see how, if that's what you're experiencing, how that is adding any value. If anything, that's shortening your life, right? The fact that you're here today, of course, is already telling, but this is a reinforcement of your values and your beliefs that have determined you are not living your best life. You are figuratively imprisoned in a situation that requires not just immediate attention, but action to get out. And how you get out of that is first recognizing the signs of toxicity, the signs of the environment that you're in. All right, so take a moment to reflect on this, a long moment. Are there specific areas of your life where you have noticed these signs? Ask yourself, like, what emotions or thoughts have come up when you're considering these aspects? Awareness is the first step towards creating a plan for positive change.